Hey, it's Carl with a K. Let's talk about Hollywood. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk About Hollywood. This is Carl Gibson. This is Season 2, Episode 26. So we're up to 26 episodes, and I apologize this episode is a day late. It should have been out yesterday, Wednesday, February 4th. I try to publish episodes on Wednesdays. Yesterday there was an impromptu Bob Dylan concert outside, and I don't have the rights to Bob Dylan music, and so I couldn't do it. And they were like really into it, like a Rolling Stone was on, and he was feeling it, didn't you? And so anyway, I just thought, well, I'll just do it tomorrow, because there was no way I could have edited that out, but it sounded good. Most of the time that Bob Dylan song came on. I love that song, by the way. Most of the time. I'm a good mimic. Did I ever tell you guys once that I had a dream that Tom Waits was singing 99 Red Balloons, like as a torch song? I have never forgotten that dream. I think it was like 20 years ago. But I don't have the rights to 99 Red Balloons, but I think I can. Okay, so Tom Waits was just in this really dark kind of like after hours club, right? And he was just like, you and I in a little toy shop, buy a bag of balloons with the money we got, shake them free at the break of dawn. Anyway, it was really mournful, his version. I think of you and let it go. 99 red balloons. And I was like, wow, Tom Waits has just gone so meta. But it was just a dream. Thank you, everyone who is tuning in. And thank you again for everyone who listened to my return episode last week after a 4-week hiatus while I moved from California to the Tampa Bay area here in Florida. And thank you to those who donated, including my sister, Ellie. Thank you so much. My friend, my longtime friend, Shay donated to the podcast, aka MC Shay. Thank you, Ellie and Shay, for donating to the podcast. It means so much. It's humongous because, like I said, this was a huge move for me, moving everything. Like I told you, listeners, if you didn't listen to last week's episode, I made the move from Los Angeles to the Tampa Bay area. I didn't sell my stuff. I pretty much donated 80 to 85% of what I owned, gave it away, because I didn't want to haggle over prices. And I just thought, and I also didn't want in a year or two to just see all this stuff coming from California that frankly is associated with a hard time, especially these last couple of years. As you know, I am a former studio executive. I was a content manager for Disney Plus, for Marvel, for Star Wars, and did a lot of work for Hulu. And it's just been really, really difficult. I really have put out hundreds and hundreds of resumes. I'm still trying to land. This podcast is always free. It runs on donations. I don't have ads. I prefer the more intimate connection that we have here. So I haven't incorporated ads into the podcast yet. So donations are really, really what make the difference in everything and supports this podcast, which I'm doing myself. And lots of people do their podcast themselves, but I'm doing all of this myself. And I taught myself, and I'm so glad that you're here. So if you ever want to donate, you can donate. There's a link in the show notes wherever you get your favorite podcasts. So whether that's Spotify, Amazon, Audible, Apple, iHeart, on and on, anywhere you get your favorite podcasts, If you look at the show notes, the link is right there. You can also find the link to donate on my website, which is www.letstalkabouthollywood.com. And you also can find this podcast and a donation link on my blog. I haven't told you guys this. I have a blog. I've had it for years. It's called HollywoodRailroad.com. www.hollywoodrailroad.com. The tagline is, I'll help you get across the street. See? Hollywood Railroad, get it? Like, I got the underground, hookups. Not the underground hookups, but I'm saying I got the underground knowledge. Okay? So, anyway, if you ever want to donate, there's no limit. There's no amount too small, and it really, really helps the podcast. So that's my housekeeping for this episode. So there's no mid-roll. Thank you for letting me share that. Again, anyone who can, I really appreciate it. I also want to thank all of the countries that listened last week. It was top 10. US, Spain, Finland, France, the United Kingdom, Lithuania, Czech Republic, Denmark, India, and Singapore. Thank you all of you. Anytime I see that, it just makes me feel so great just to know that we're bonding across all of these countries and that you found this podcast and hopefully you like what you hear. So stick around. Okay, so as I told you guys last week, we're going to get back into the journals. And so we're in the year 2002. I've been at the Hollywood Reporter, not officially for a year yet. It's pretty much in 2002, the year anniversary of when I quit my day job and temped all summer and ended up landing at the Hollywood Reporter. So I'm adjusting to it. It's a really intense schedule. I'd been an actor, so I'm seeing Hollywood from a totally different way as a part of the trade press. The Hollywood Reporter at this time is making tens of millions of dollars. The closest rival that we have is Variety, which are the two mainstays in Hollywood. They come out every single day. So it's intense. And just to give you an idea of what was going on in May of 2002, these are just some quick things. There were no smartphones. Nokia phones were the thing. Nokia. So no smartphones, people still using beepers, otherwise known as pagers. Page me. I've got to run. Please page me. You can page me. I heard that a lot from reporters at the time. So Star Wars Attack of the Clones had been filmed digitally, which was a big deal. Didn't use film, that was digital. Theatrical windows, so when movies came out, the time between them being released in the theaters to finally coming to on demand was 90 days, 3 months. Now it's between 17 and 30 days before it's on a streaming app. So that theatrical window was really, really generous back then. And you see it coming up a lot with the potential purchase of Warner Brothers by Netflix. Theatrical windows are a big deal. And they were back then too. Spider-Man was the number one movie and would end up being the number one movie for the year. Digital effects, effects were mostly digital. Now you can do a lot of that with AI, and it's really disrupting the industry. And effects workers work so hard. I'm telling you, I got stories. They work incredibly hard. So shout out to the effects people out there and everyone who works so hard. Really, they work so hard behind the scenes. I mean, back then it was a lot of green screen effects. Now there's virtual production. There's LED surroundscapes. If you've ever seen that, I saw it at Disney. It's where in the case of Disney, you walk onto a soundstage and literally completely all around you from the floor to the ceiling. It can be France. You can be on a different planet. You can be in the middle of downtown Tokyo, and it is extremely realistic. It's pretty incredible. So that's what was going on back then. DVDs were still number one. There was no, as far as physical media, if you saw a movie and you wanted it, you bought the DVD. American Idol and Survivor were, establishing themselves as reality hits. So reality TV hadn't really taken over, but it was a big thing back then. So this is kind of the flow of 2002, kind of what's going on in Hollywood, and the R. Kelly scandal's about to happen, but take years and years to come to pass and come to light. So a lot of things happening in Hollywood at the time, and I'm at the Hollywood Reporter as an editorial assistant. Me and Stone, my husband at the time, we're doing our best and trying and just balancing life. And so that's where we start with this episode. We're going back to the journals. This is May of 2002, and this episode is called I'm Getting In This Time. Tuesday, May 7th, 2002. I've been reading The Same River Twice, Honoring the Difficult, about the filming of The Color Purple by Alice Walker. She has mixed feelings about the movie. It's inspiring. I'll be so glad when my creative allies and my abilities meet. Reuben Cannon, famous for casting iconic productions like Roots, cast The Color Purple. As an actor, I haven't been able to read for him in 5 years. I've submitted to Steven Spielberg and Quincy Jones with no happenings yet. I saw Margaret Avery, who played Suge, at a funeral recently. I've submitted, also in the past, to Whoopi Goldberg's production company. Alice Walker responded to a letter from Whoopi where she offered to play, quote, a Venetian blind in The Color Purple. In my acting career, I did not come into the theatrical profession welcomed by the black old guard. I was considered suspect from the start, starting with my audition for the Duke Ellington School of the Performing Arts in Washington, D.C. when I was 14. Linda Gravatt, now a stage legend, was my auditioner. I remember her telling me, quote, I still get checks from the Wiz. She asked me if I thought, quote, your Le Tigre label shirt makes you think you're better than others? These are the probing questions people ask teenagers. My answer to Linda Gravatt was, no, my mom bought it. As an older teen at Columbia College in Chicago, where working film and stage actors taught and auditioned, I remember words flying around me in the theater office with pointed comments like high yellow and conked hair because my hair was straight and I was light-skinned. Then there was the awful disrespect by a famous director when I was understudying 3 roles and forbidden to practice blocking, even when the set was dark and unused, including in front of the visiting playwright at the time. My own acting peers were not that spiteful. They were polar opposites, and despite my fair share of backstage conflicts, I always felt at home. It's sad now, in Hollywood, where so many of the artistic and principal successes of earlier generations can be this dismissive, uninterested elite of today. All you can do is try. I am now an editorial assistant, a non-creative position, in a newsroom at an outlet where the players come to feed. Conventional wisdom states that if I do 2 years of this job, it could make my way to the bigger leagues easier once I leave. That I even have a body of work in the acting world to justify my career is a testament to that hard work. I'm 32 years old, and I feel like I'm taking the long way, except this is the last long walk I'm taking just to get entry. I'm getting in this time. I know so much more now from working at the Hollywood Reporter every day. As for my artistic career, there are plenty of positive and clear truths that I realize, like I have a choice to not do work I don't care about, or if I think the shoot will be a train wreck. I turned down a music video from an album that sold 9 million copies for that very reason. I turned down roles where my character would be a ghetto parody. It's an intuitive sense. Another truth is, a career really is a live entity in force. Every project you take as an artist is a collaboration of various energies and unknown paths. There are some productions that you just don't even want to be a part of or be involved in. So there are some parts and roles it's good not to get if it's just going to backfire on you. There are sets where directors are nuts and you're glad not to work with them anymore. Pursue what you think will work, not what you think others want you to do, unless it's a bolder, creative step for yourself. I think there's an excellent case in trusting God to plan your career versus rushing it too soon and causing your own downfall when you see that the top is still a joke from any vantage point. There are no hugs and love from the Suits. They may as well be Borg from Star Trek. Jessica Savage and countless others learned this the hard way, in the news industry especially. I choose my career because I'm good at the work versus, at 32 years old, the youthful and hopeful desire for mass approval. I already know that I can connect to the masses because I live and struggle like the masses, and I've lived and struggled like the masses. That's why I can connect. Now, outside of acting and severing my agent and manager ties to ensure that there are no conflict of interest in my news career, I'd be naive to think that in the current business and event party circuit that I'm in, that I don't have that, quote, sexy or, quote, wild card tag that I had as an actor in certain Hollywood interactions. Now that I'm embedded in the town, I will say people take notice and they're friendly, and I don't make waves and I talk more to the staff. I'd rather talk to a cool bartender than shake hands with a corporate cretin and pretend to care about their fever dreams. Manners do win over pissing contests. I refuse to try to do the latter. I'll talk to the event staff first. They're the artists in some cases. I'm fortunate to have a protective, smart, generous, and loving partner in Stone, and I'm anchored in reality. The rest is all about effort and creativity, sowing, and reaping. Thursday, May 9th, 2002. I missed a whole week of work being sick, if you count my Sunday shift for Monday's issue. This job at the Hollywood Reporter has taken a lot of getting used to. It's been no secret that I'm often not happy there and that I could be doing something else. I work my station and I'm one of the best. I'm on salary and the magazine demands 110 hours every 2 weeks, including the commute, which is just 6 miles each way. It's a heavy schedule with Stone and I having to gain ground constantly. I've been under a huge amount of pressure. Today's the first day I feel close to my normal self. I can handle the job if I keep my eyes on the work and not the insane people in the vast galaxy of our orbit. I stay rooted in my spiritual beliefs and I press on until I have what I'd like. I have as good a foot in the door as one could ever have, having been an unemployed actor who hasn't kissed ass. I've worked for it. A week away from work, being burnt out and with a cold, I got to read 2 books. Not magazines, books. I love reading and buying my books. Hopefully, the Hollywood Reporter understood, but as my sister Ellie said the other day, sympathy is not required. Rest is better. I just have to think of it as a TV set, and that I'm fulfilling my 2-year role, metaphorically speaking. All right, that is the journal portion of this episode, and so now time for the recap. I'll keep it pretty brief. I'll just say the reason that I included this is because for anyone that, regardless of the industry that you want to get into, I thought it would be helpful because I can tell in this part of my career, which was really just starting the first year as an editorial assistant on an A-list level, when I was not A-list myself and barely middle class, not middle class at all. So really just in this world between what I'm comfortable in and then this completely other different system and class system, if you really want to be honest. I mean, it just was who didn't want to be like at the pinnacle of whatever Hollywood career there was. If you were in the industry, that's what you were going for. And so I can see where I'm struggling with. There's the acting career that I did for 15 years professionally, and now there's this opportunity to learn the industry in a completely different way, but I'm also doing it in an entry level way. And what if I'm losing my artistic sensibilities, but at the same time I'm being exposed to all these different people, and I went to school for journalism, so I know I'm learning how this industry works. And so there were so many different conflicts, and I can see that I'm exhausted. I can see that I'm trying to maintain my relationship and protect that with my partner, Stone, and deal with a lot of high-strung, high-maintenance personalities all over the place in the industry, in Hollywood proper, some within the magazine. Don't forget, this is a publishing empire, so there's hundreds of people. I'm in the main newsroom, but there's all kinds of people that you're dealing with, and it works, and it took a cast of hundreds to make this magazine come out every day, the Hollywood Reporter, which again, they called a paper. So paper, magazine, it came out every day. 24 pages, 38 pages, an international edition that was twice that. 6 days a week, special issues, all kinds of things happening. So I think this was interesting to read, because I can tell that, okay, just think of it. I'm telling myself, just think of this as a TV show, and you're on contract for 2 years, and you just got to do your role, and you can do it whichever way you want, but it has to work. And then I can also see I'm longing for the acting career, because I'm thinking, oh man, Whoopi Goldberg wrote Alice Walker to tell her that she loved her book, and if they ever made a movie, she'd play a Venetian blind. And Quincy Jones discovered Oprah Winfrey when she was on AM Chicago, a local show for the WLS affiliate in Chicago. It's an ABC station. And just all of these kind of fortuitous connections. And I felt at that time, it was so hard for me to connect. I tried as an actor, and now I've let that go. I've let my agent go. I've let my manager go. And now this has to work. So I can see the I'm torn. And there were a lot of times I wasn't happy at that time, especially being an assistant, because I felt as an assistant, so much of it, you are being helpful. But then there's a whole other part of being an assistant that is really just kind of fending off the ridiculous. You're in the middle of something and someone's like, we're out of Post-it notes. Like, what do you want me to do? Make one? Just, babbity boo. Here's some Post-it notes. Maybe I'm doing something else. Maybe I'm writing copy. Maybe I'm helping someone else. Maybe I'm transcribing an interview, and they don't care. And so I could see that I was pretty torn. And then Linda Gravatt, by the way, the one who asked me, did I think my Le Tigre shirt made me think I was better than others? That's still very hilarious to me. Because if you don't remember Le Tigre shirts, it was like Izod. It was like a polo shirt, but instead of the alligator on the, left side of the chest, it was a tiger. So yeah, that was supposed to be like a designer shirt or something. And I just kind of shut her down. Like, my mom bought that. Okay. I don't know what you want me to say. I will say that I did not get picked when I auditioned for the Duke Ellington School of the Performing Arts. I did not get picked. However, someone dropped out and I did get their slot. So I did become a student of Duke Ellington, but it didn't last very long. I was commuting from Maryland to DC. I had a little brother. It was like a 12-hour day, and that just wasn't happening. Not at that age, and not with, my dad having passed, and there was a lot I had to do, and so that just wasn't part of it. And no regrets about that. I went right back to my great high school that I had left, and everybody was glad to see me, and I kept acting and working, and it all worked out. But I did contact Linda Gravatt, rest her soul, many years later, and I did get to connect with her and tell her how awesome she was, because she did go on to do so many more things. So that was interesting. And thinking about all of the kind of intra-racial stuff that I was going through in college. You know, high yellow, the conked hair. Conk meant like if your hair was straight or relaxed or permed, you know, like look at that conk, like a shell, you know, that kind of swoopy straight hair. Yeah, I would get all that. I remember auditioning for Raisin in the Sun and being told, well, if we cast you, then what are we going to do? And I was like, well, I'll cut my hair. I'm not here to play myself. I cut my hair. And they were like, no. It was just like, no. Oh yeah, they got their little digs in. I'm saying, you know, some of the casting directors and the directors and the producers, but I stuck with it. And I stuck with it in journalism too. So I think looking back on this, it's just, if you focus, if you don't let yourself get distracted, be grateful for the things that you have. I know that I was always trying for a perfect balance. I know that I was with this. With this journal entry, I can see where I was in 2002. I wanted the career, which I knew was going to take time. I wanted to get to where I was at least middle class salary, just so I could do things and just not be behind the eight ball all the time. And I wanted to also give enough attention to my marriage, because that was incredibly important to me, and maintain my friendships and stay in touch with my family. And it just was a lot. And I think that's something that, regardless of whatever industry you're in, that we all try to do. And so just be easy on yourself, because work does take up the majority of our time. And hopefully you get to a point where you can do the things you love. And if you don't, you can do what interests you and what calls you, or work towards it. And even someone like me right now who's been out of work, that then led to this podcast. And it's not that this podcast, because it's free, it's not paying all my bills. I still have to get a job, but at least I get to do what I know how to do, what I love to do, which is connect with people. And so I can see and connect with you, the audience. And so I can see, even 24 years ago, I'm thinking, man, you know, how do people connect? You know, you just, once people hit a certain level or they hit a certain peak, if they're just going to be dismissive and they don't care, then how are you going to get into that orbit? But a lot of times you create the orbit yourself, or they join you. You never know. Careers are very interesting things. So I guess the key is, and I'm telling you as much as I'm telling myself, don't get frustrated. Work your talents, and just know that breakthroughs are coming, and breakthroughs happen all the time. It really is something that can just rise and rise and rise. It really is limitless, and that's the way you have to think about it, even when there's bumps in the road and adversarial situations. It doesn't make it right, but just know you're doing the right thing, and it's okay. You'll get there, and just step away. It's okay to step away. And that's clearly what I did when I wrote this journal and these journal entries those years ago. I was sick. I was feeling burned out, meaning sick with the flu, burned out. And I just had a week to kind of reflect. And so even if it's 10 minutes to yourself, just take that moment. And I'm there trying with you. So anyway, that's what I have to say about this episode. That's the recap. I hope that everything is going great for you guys, and there will be more next week. Thank you for being here, as always. I really appreciate it. I love you. Take good care of yourself, and as always, don't forget, love is real, and I wish you all great things. See you next week.